Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, shimmering ocean where each wave seems to whisper a secret only your heart can hear. This is the realm of manifestation, a place many claim to understand, yet few truly navigate with mastery. You've likely heard countless methods, countless laws and hacks, each promising to unlock the life you've dreamed of. But what if the truth isn't a single law or one magical step? What if it's a sequence, a hidden architecture of creation woven into the very fabric of existence? What if there's a 10-phase system that acts not merely as a method, but as the actual blueprint of transformation? Stay with me until the very end of this journey, for you will see why this system changes everything you thought you knew about manifestation. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the deeper truths that life keeps tucked just beneath the surface. You see, most people approach manifestation as if it were a wish list handed to the universe, like tossing coins into a fountain and waiting for the ripples to return with treasures. But manifestation, in its true form, is not wishful thinking. It's a dance between your inner frequency and the silent language of the cosmos. And that dance has steps. The problem is, humanity has been taught the chorus of the song, but not the verses. We've been given fragments, affirmations without alignment, vision boards without vibrational grounding, intentions without energetic follow-through. The 10-phase system isn't just another method to stack alongside the others. It's not a clever rearrangement of the law of attraction, nor is it a mystical superstition dressed in poetic words. It's the unveiling of a cycle as old as creation itself, a cycle your soul has already been moving through unconsciously since the moment you arrived on this earth. When you bring it into conscious awareness, when you intentionally move through each phase, manifestation stops being a game of chance and becomes a symphony you conduct. Picture it like decoding the DNA of reality itself. Every dream you hold, every goal you reach for, is a seed. But without knowing how to plant it in the right soil, nurture it through the right seasons, and harvest it at the right time, the seed either withers or grows in distorted form. The 10-phase system is the map of those seasons. It recognizes the subtle energies at play, the whispers of intention, the hum of preparation, the ignition of action, the stillness of gestation, and the sacred act of receiving. And it does so not in vague, feel-good platitudes, but in precise stages that align with both the metaphysical and the physical laws of this world. Yet, to truly appreciate why this is a game changer, you must understand something deeper. Manifestation is not merely about getting something. That's the kindergarten level of creation. True manifestation is about becoming the kind of vessel that can hold the reality you call forth without spilling it, sabotaging it, or watching it slip away. Many people succeed briefly. They land the dream job, meet the right partner, experience a burst of financial abundance, but because they have not moved through the deeper phases, their manifestation is unstable, like a castle built on sand. The waves of life eventually reclaim it. This is where the system shifts everything. Each phase isn't just about progress toward a goal, it's about transformation of self. By the time you complete the 10th phase, the external manifestation is almost a side effect, inevitable, yes? But the real victory is that you have become someone who can continuously create, sustain, and expand your desired reality. Think of the cosmos as a grand architect and you as both an apprentice and a co-creator. Every great architect follows a blueprint, but more than that, they understand the laws of structure, balance, and proportion. You would never build a cathedral without first laying its foundation. Yet so many try to manifest without anchoring their desires in stability. You wouldn't leave walls half-built and expect the roof to stand, yet that's exactly what happens when you skip phases or rush the process. The 10-phase system restores the integrity of creation, layer upon layer, until what you've built stands against any storm. And here's the almost cosmic irony. This system has always been here. You've moved through its patterns every time you've created anything of significance in your life, whether a relationship, a career shift, or even an internal breakthrough. The difference now is awareness. When you know the phases, you can intentionally move through them. You can diagnose where you've stalled, where you've sabotaged, and where your energy is leaking. You can stop wondering why some desires come so easily while others remain painfully out of reach. This is not about magic tricks. It's about aligning yourself with the same creative current that turns a seed into a forest, a thought into a movement, a dream into a reality that shapes history. When you understand this, manifestation becomes less about hoping and more about engineering, not in a cold, mechanical way, but in a way that honors the soul's rhythm and the universe's language. In the end, the real game changer isn't that you get what you want, it's that you awaken to the truth that you've been part of a greater pattern all along. You begin to see that the phases aren't separate from you, they are you. Your mind, your emotions, your actions, and your spirit are all threads in the same tapestry. And when you finally see how to weave them with intention, you stop playing small in a universe that has always been limitless. This is where our journey begins. From here, we will step into the deeper currents that shape every act of creation, unveiling the architecture of this 10-phase system, so that you can step into the role you were always meant to play. Not just a dreamer, but a master builder of realities. Every system that endures across time, every structure that does not crumble under the weight of its own ambition, is built upon a foundation of principles. The 10-phase manifestation system is no exception, though its principles are not simply mental exercises or motivational slogans. They are more akin to the gravitational forces that hold planets in orbit. Subtle, constant, and inescapable, whether or not you're aware of them. To ignore them is to drift aimlessly in space. To align with them is to harness the same forces that move the stars. At its heart, the system is built on an understanding that reality itself is layered. There is the visible realm, the one where you pay bills, shake hands, and speak words aloud. And then there is the invisible realm, where frequencies, intentions, and archetypes shape the physical long before it comes into form. The two are not separate worlds, but two sides of the same coin, and the bridge between them is alignment. Without alignment, no amount of effort will yield sustained results. You might see flashes of success, the way lightning briefly illuminates the night sky, but they will fade back into darkness just as quickly. The first theme that threads through this system is sequence. In the physical world, sequence is everything. You cannot harvest before you plant, nor can you reap in winter. Yet, in manifestation, so many attempt to skip steps, leaping from desire to outcome without moving through the phases of preparation, integration, and inner readiness. Sequence honors the rhythm of creation, and when you respect that rhythm, you step into a harmony that feels almost effortless. This is why the system is described as a cycle rather than a set of disconnected techniques. It's not enough to know each phase. You must also honor the order in which they unfold. The second theme is resonance. Resonance is not merely thinking about what you want or writing it down in a journal. It is becoming a living, breathing match for that desire. This is where many stumble, because they believe wanting is the same as resonating. Wanting comes from a sense of lack. Resonance comes from embodiment. If the desire is the destination, resonance is the frequency you tune your internal compass to. It is the same principle by which a tuning fork causes another of the same pitch to vibrate. Your inner state, when aligned, calls its counterpart into existence without strain. A third guiding concept is gestation. In a world obsessed with speed, instant gratification has become the default expectation. But the universe does not operate on human impatience. It operates on energetic maturity. Every seed has its season underground before it breaks the soil. Every dream has its time in the unseen, where invisible forces refine it, prune it, and align it with the larger pattern of your life. The gestation phase teaches patience, but more importantly, it teaches trust. not the passive kind, but the active trust that keeps preparing the table even before the guests arrive. Another essential pillar of this system is integration. Many manifestation methods focus solely on the act of calling something in, yet neglect what happens after it arrives. The truth is, receiving is only half the process. If you cannot integrate what you've manifested, if you cannot allow it to blend into the architecture of your life, then it becomes fragile, easily lost. Integration transforms the new reality into your normal state, which allows for further expansion. Without it, you remain a visitor in the life you've created, never truly at home within it. Finally, running through every phase is the principle of identity evolution. You cannot manifest a reality while clinging to the version of yourself that exists before it. Each phase of the 10-phase system invites you to shed outdated aspects of identity, beliefs, fears, habits that cannot survive in the world you are building. This is the reason manifestation is so often resisted on a subconscious level, because it requires death before rebirth. Not death of the self entirely, but of the parts that are incompatible with the higher frequency you are stepping into. This is why manifestation, at its core, is not simply about getting what you want, but about becoming who you must be. When you weave these themes together, sequence, resonance, gestation, integration, identity, evolution, you begin to see why most manifestation efforts fail. They focus on one or two of these pillars while ignoring the rest, like building a bridge supported by only half its beams. The 10-phase system does not allow for such imbalance. It insists on wholeness, on moving through the phases as a living cycle, rather than cherry-picking the parts that feel easiest or most exciting. And yet, the beauty of this system is not just in its completeness, but in how it mirrors the very patterns of nature. Watch a river carve a canyon over centuries, and you will see sequence, resonance, gestation, integration, and identity evolution in motion. Observe a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, and you will witness each phase embodied in the transformation. The system does not impose something artificial upon your life. It simply reveals what creation has always been doing and invites you to join consciously. Once these core themes are understood, the 10-phase system stops feeling like a rigid formula and becomes more like a musical score. You can improvise within it, explore your unique style, and even play with tempo, but the melody remains the same. Each note, each phase, builds upon the last, and when played in harmony, they create a resonance that reality cannot ignore. There is a truth I've found about teaching any deep system of creation. You cannot just hand people the mechanics and expect their hearts to understand. The mind needs structure, yes, but the soul needs story. Without story, knowledge feels hollow, disconnected from the deeper currents that make it worth living. And so, to truly understand why this 10-phase system changes everything in manifestation, we must step into the realm of symbols and allegories, where the invisible speaks in shapes, seasons, and parables. Imagine first the image of an ancient astronomer priest standing on a stone platform in the desert, his eyes fixed on a map of the stars carved into the rock beneath his feet. He knows that the stars are not simply distant fires, but markers of time, points in the sky that correspond to cycles on the earth. The people who come to him don't understand why certain seasons bring abundance and others hardship, but he does. He has seen the pattern, the sequence. He knows that planting seeds under the wrong constellation will yield nothing but barren soil. This is the first truth of the 10-phase system, that there is a cosmic timing to manifestation, and those who align with it seem to move effortlessly, while those who ignore it exhaust themselves against invisible tides. Now picture a potter's wheel spinning slowly under the hands of a patient craftswoman. She takes a lump of clay, shapeless, unremarkable, and begins to mold it. At first it resists her touch, wobbling and collapsing, but she does not force it. She works with the rhythm of the wheel. She presses, lifts, shapes, waits, and gradually the clay becomes something that can hold water. In this, we see another truth of the system, that desire alone is raw material, It must be shaped, pressed, and refined by the phases until it can contain what it's meant to hold. Without this refinement, even a fulfilled desire will leak away. The third symbol is a labyrinth, not a maze meant to confuse, but a sacred spiral path that leads inward to a still center. Many who seek manifestation think of it as a straight road from point A to point B. But in truth, it is more like walking the labyrinth. You draw closer, then seem to drift away, then curve back again. The phases of the system mirror this spiral because each brings you closer not just to the goal, but to yourself. When you finally reach the center, you understand that the path was never an obstacle. It was the transformation itself. Then there is the seed and the winter soil. A farmer buries the seed in the cold, dark earth, knowing it will be months before anything green breaks the surface. If he digs it up too soon to check on it, he kills it. Here lies one of the hardest lessons for modern minds. Gestation is sacred. You must allow your manifestations to incubate in the unseen, even when your ego is screaming for proof. This is why the system's phases require you to surrender control in certain moments, not to give up, but to let life's unseen machinery do its work. And finally, there is the phoenix. In every great manifestation, there comes a phase where the old self must burn. People rarely speak of this because it's uncomfortable, even painful, but in the ashes lies the alchemy of identity evolution. The phoenix does not cling to its feathers when the fire comes. It trusts that what emerges will be more radiant than before. Many stall in manifestation because they try to carry their old fears, doubts, and identities into the new reality. But the system structure ensures that by the time you arrive at the 10th phase, those things have been burned away, leaving only what can thrive in the new life. Each of these symbols, the astronomer priest, the potter, the labyrinth, the seed, the phoenix, speaks to the same truth from different angles. Manifestation is not a singular act, but a journey through transformations, seen and unseen. They remind us that the system is not just about attracting things, but about synchronizing yourself with the architecture of creation itself. These narratives matter because they awaken something deeper than logic. They speak to the part of you that has always known there is a hidden order to life, even when your mind doubted it. They anchor the phases in a language older than words, one that the subconscious understands immediately. And when your subconscious understands, resistance falls away. You stop fighting the seasons and start dancing with them. It is one thing to speak of cosmic cycles, symbolic journeys, and the hidden laws of creation. It is another to walk out your front door and live them while surrounded by the noise, speed, and chaos of modern life. And yet, this is where the real power of the 10-phase system reveals itself, not as an abstract philosophy, but as a living, breathing practice that reshapes your days, your relationships, and even the quiet way you inhabit your own mind. The first shift happens in the way you approach your goals. Without the system, most people chase results with a restless urgency, as though life is a race they are about to lose. With the system, you begin to operate with a deliberate rhythm. You stop trying to skip ahead because you understand that every phase carries a gift that prepares you for the next. You find yourself planning differently, not from a place of scarcity, but from a place of inevitability. Your actions no longer feel like desperate grasps in the dark. They feel like purposeful strokes in a painting whose image is slowly, beautifully emerging. This has profound effects on decision-making. For instance, in business, people often rush to launch a product or commit to a partnership before the foundation is ready. The result is wasted energy, financial loss, and disillusionment. But when you apply the system's phases, you recognize the importance of the root work that precedes outward action. You know when it's time to gather resources, when it's time to test an idea quietly, and when it's time to move boldly into visibility. This alone can mean the difference between fleeting success and lasting impact. The system also transforms how you navigate obstacles. Most see setbacks as signs that they are failing or moving in the wrong direction. Within the framework of the 10 phases, obstacles are simply indicators of where you are in the cycle. Resistance in the early phases may signal that the seed of your intention needs clearer definition. Resistance in later phases may mean it is time for pruning, removing what does not serve the full bloom of your manifestation. Instead of falling into despair or abandoning your vision, you learn to read these moments like a skilled sailor reads the wind. You adjust your sails rather than cursing the storm. On a personal level, one of the most profound shifts is in identity alignment. When you understand that each phase calls forth a slightly different version of you, you stop clinging to static self-definitions. You begin to welcome change not as a threat, but as a rite of passage. In relationships, this may mean letting go of connections that cannot walk with you into the reality you are building, or opening yourself to new alliances that carry the frequency of your next phase. It's not always easy, but it becomes natural. You no longer ask, "How can I keep everything the same while changing my life?" You instead ask, "Who must I become so that my life transforms with me?" Perhaps the most underrated impact of this system is the deep peace it brings. Modern manifestation culture often fuels anxiety. It tells you to think positive constantly, to fear your own doubts, to vigilantly police your every thought, as though the universe is a fragile machine ready to punish you for a moment of negativity. The 10-phase system dissolves that paranoia. It shows you that each phase has room for the full spectrum of human experience. Doubt, rest, contemplation, experimentation, and action all have their place. This means you can live without the constant tension of performing a perfect vibrational state. You stop fearing that a bad day will undo months of work because you see the process as a river, not a single drop. In the physical world, this translates into more grounded action. Your career path becomes a conscious unfolding rather than a frantic climb. Your financial strategies align with both short-term needs and long-term vision. Your health goals shift from punishment and quick fixes to sustainable rhythms that honor your body's natural cycles. Even in moments when life seems to stall, you know you are not stagnant. You are in gestation, in integration, or in one of the other phases that will carry you forward in due time. The real-world implications extend even further. This system rewires how you think about timing. No longer do you see missed opportunities as gone forever. Instead, you understand that they belong to a cycle, and cycles return. You can meet them again, better prepared, at a higher level of readiness. This mindset alone frees you from the scarcity that drives so much poor decision-making in life and business. Ultimately, the 10-phase system brings a rare combination of grounded practicality and cosmic vision. It is as comfortable in the realm of quarterly plans and project timelines as it is in meditation halls and sacred texts. It refuses to let you live solely in the clouds of theory, but it also refuses to let you get lost in the dirt of the day-to-day. Instead, it threads the two together into a single continuous path. And perhaps that is the greatest gift, that you come to see your life not as a series of unrelated events, but as a coherent, intentional unfolding. You realize that manifestation is not just about pulling in what you desire, but about becoming the custodian of a reality you have crafted with care. And that reality, because it is built, phase by phase, will not crumble at the first strong wind. It will stand and it will grow. If you've journeyed with me through each section of this exploration, you may already feel it, not just an intellectual grasp of the 10-phase system, but the quiet, certain hum of recognition deep inside you. That hum is the truth you've always known, that life was never meant to be a frantic chase for scraps of luck, nor a constant wrestling match with unseen forces. It was always meant to be a collaboration with the patterns that hold the stars in their places and pull the tides toward the shore. The 10-phase system is not an invention, it is a remembering. We began at the threshold, standing before the vast ocean of manifestation, wondering if there was a way to chart its tides with more than guesswork. We stepped into the architecture of its core themes: sequence, resonance, gestation, integration, identity, evolution, and saw how they weave a web strong enough to hold even the most extraordinary dreams. We walked the symbolic pathways of the astronomer priest, the potter, the labyrinth, the seed in winter, and the phoenix, and in their stories we saw our own transformations reflected back. Then we grounded those insights in the soil of daily life, discovering how the system guides business decisions, personal growth, relationships, and the quiet rhythm of becoming. But here, at the final turning, there is something I must tell you. Understanding the system is not the same as living it. Many will hear its wisdom, nod in agreement, and then return to the old ways, impatiently forcing outcomes, abandoning dreams at the first sign of resistance, skipping the inner work in search of shortcuts. The transformation does not come from hearing. It comes from inhabiting. The system cannot be something you occasionally visit, like a shrine for moments of crisis. It must become the current you swim in every day, even when the shore is nowhere in sight. This is where the choice appears before you. You can treat this as a beautiful idea, a piece of cosmic poetry to admire from a distance, or you can take the first step into living it. That first step will look different for each person. For some, it will mean pausing the endless sprint for results and allowing yourself to fully inhabit the phase you're in now, without shame or anxiety. For others, it will mean shedding a self-image that has kept you anchored to a life smaller than your capacity. For still others, it will mean daring to name a dream you've been too afraid to claim, planting the seed with deliberate intention and trusting the soil to do its work. The truth is, manifestation was never meant to be a single event. It is a cycle, an art form, a discipline, and a form of devotion all at once. The devotion is not to the desire itself, but to the becoming. Every phase asks something of you: patience, courage, surrender, discernment. And in giving it, you are not simply earning your manifestation. You are sculpting the self who can live inside it without collapsing under its weight. And yes, there will be moments when it feels slow, moments when the old life tugs at you like gravity, begging you to return to familiar ground, moments when the phase you're in feels endless and you wonder if the tide will ever turn. In those moments, remember the phoenix's fire, the seed's winter, the labyrinth's winding path. Remember that you are not stalled, you are in motion, even when that motion is invisible. If there is one call I would leave you with, it is this: stop trying to manifest like a gambler and start creating like an architect of worlds. Lay your foundations, honor the phases, let your identity stretch and shed as many times as it must. Know that when you complete the cycle, what you hold will be so deeply rooted in your being that it could not be taken from you even if the entire world conspired against it. And perhaps most importantly, once you've mastered the system for yourself, do not keep it locked in your own hands. Teach it, share it, live it so fully that others can feel it in your presence. Let your life become proof that the 10-phase system is not just a philosophy, but a living law. In doing so, you will not only manifest your own dreams, you will become a catalyst for countless others to remember their own power. This is the invitation. This is the turning point. The ocean is before you, its tides ready to answer your call. The question now is not whether the system works. The question is whether you will step into it with both feet, no matter what phase you find yourself in today. Because the moment you do, you stop playing at creation and begin shaping reality itself. And in that moment, you are no longer merely someone who wants, you are someone who is. And that, more than anything, is the real game changer in manifestation.